I'd like to call this meeting to order. This being March the 9th, 2020, regular Board of Aldermen meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone and remind everyone to turn their cell phones off. It doesn't mean vibrate. Texting means off. And if you'll do that, I'd appreciate it. And now we'll stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, Pastor Caleb Davis will do her invocation.
Board of Aldermen, friends, neighbors, if you would let us bow our heads and invite the Lord into our meeting tonight. Our precious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. God, we thank you for knowing and realizing that you are all-knowing. You know the past, you know the present, you know the future as if they are one. Father, you also know that we are limited in our knowledge. So, Father, we ask for your wisdom, for your divine knowledge, that, God, we could meet together tonight and accomplish that which needs accomplished in our city. Help us, God, together in one mind, one accord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. We've got several announcements today. The first, I've received a letter from Andrew G. Pleninger. On behalf of the State Forester and myself, I'm writing to inform you of that your community has been named 2019 Tree City USA. The Tree City USA recognition from the North Carolina Forest Service and Arbor Day Foundation highlights your commitment to the urban forestry, community improvement, and civic pride. I commend your efforts and encourage you to keep up the great work in making your community a better place for citizens to live, work, and play. 2019 makes the 15th year in a row for the town of Black Mountain being recognized as Tree City USA. And second, I would like to commend Jamie Matthews, Chris Sloan, Gabe Martin, who attended the instructor training and certification at the Safety and Health Council of North Carolina and Charlotte. This allows them to teach and certify personnel in-house, setting up work zones for safety, proper flagging methods that is required by the state. The town currently has to use a certified individual to come in and give our classes to our folks. And by these guys becoming certified instructors, we won't have that cost. It's nationally recognized instructor class, and it'll be a money saver to the town. So thanks to Mr. Matthews, Mr. Sloan, and Mr. Martin. Also, something I know is of great anticipation on the folks here in Black Mountain. Mr. Fred McCormick is starting the Valley Echo, and he's a Black Mountain journalist, and he's launching an online source for community news related to the Swannoa Valley in the coming days. This website will feature local coverage of news, businesses, sports, and more. The Valley Echo's mission is to connect the Swannoa Valley through accurate and timely coverage of news and events that impact the region. Fred has been covering the Valley for more than 6 years. We're looking forward to it, Fred. And last but not least, on April 4th, the Black Mountain Beautification Committee will be organizing a spring litter sweep at the lower parking lot of Town Square from 9 a.m. until noon. Committee members will provide all cleanup supplies, bags, gloves, grabbers, and safety vests. They'll be focusing on areas within town limits, downtown, Lake Tomahawk, and the Greenways. If a group wants to focus on a particular area, they're welcome to do that as well. The committee cannot do this alone, and they need the entire community's help. Volunteers of all ages, from scout troops, community organizations, neighborhoods, faith communities, schools, businesses, and families are invited to participate. So they're asking us to come join as we all benefit from a greener, more beautiful space. More information, please email Black Mountain Beautification at gmail.com. And just want to say a small word about these folks. These folks are some of the unsung heroes in this town. That's why we were, TripAdvisor made us the #1 prettiest small town in America. Oprah Winfrey Magazine just last year made us the #8 in all of America. And it's because of folks like this that are doing their job to make this town a beautiful place. And I appreciate them, and I encourage everybody to show up, help them work. All right, proclamations. We have a proclamation now in honor of Mr. Carlos Showers. And if you'll step up, Sheila. Whereas the town of Black Mountain is always appreciative of those who serve for the betterment of the town, and whereas Carlos L. Showers has dedicated 11 years of service to the town of Black Mountain as Alderman, and whereas Carlos L. Showers is the second African American to hold the office in the town of Black Mountain, and whereas Carlos L. Showers rendered during his term of office valuable services to the town of Black Mountain and the citizens thereof, and where it is fitting the town of Black Mountain shows appreciation when one has rendered such valuable services. And whereas Carlos L. Showers is known for his dedication to public service and of those who serve for the betterment of the community. Now therefore let it be proclaimed that the mayor and board of aldermen of the town of Black Mountain, that Carlos Showers is acknowledged as being a good, loyal, and faithful public servant of the town of Black Mountain. That this proclamation expresses the deep appreciation on behalf of the citizens of the town of Black Mountain for valuable service which he has provided to town. Thank you. Okay, proclamation, Black Mountain Beautification Committee, which I think is already done. And so now we have citizen comments. Marilyn Sabansky.
Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners 4. One potential solution to adjusting municipal elections schedules while not extending the terms of already elected officials would be to have adjusted terms of office apply to candidates elected in an election subsequent to the passage of the legislation changing the election process. Read, approved, and adopted this 18th day of February 2020 by the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Marilyn. Weston Hall.
Weston Hall, 100 Courtney Road, Blackmount. I was going to read the same resolution. This is why many brothers and sisters have lost their lives, and we're still fighting in an 18-year war to preserve these rights to be able to vote as citizens. So I'd like that to weigh heavily on everybody's shoulders as we make an appointment.
Thank you, Weston. Teresa Fuller.
Good evening, Teresa Fuller from 207 Roosevelt Avenue, Black Mountain. Before moving to North Carolina, I had never heard the term alderman. My family has lived in towns where personnel were represented by calling people by council members or council. I looked up the term alderman, and it is defined as the member of city legislative body, and literally translates to old man in Old English. Even though many municipalities in western North Carolina still refer themselves as Board of Aldermen, it is considered an outdated, gender-specific term that many younger people don't recognize. Alderman was a term made back in the 1880s when no one dreamed a woman could serve office. When more women serving on town governing boards, a word alderman isn't representative of other times. Excuse me, a little dry. We should change the Black Mountains body legislative to use the word council and council members. The word council is a great meaning of consultation and advice, which I believe our town should convey in the spirit of becoming a progressive town with non-gender terms. This is a timely request as it does not have to be costly, as the town budget is going to be reviewed soon, and also it's an upcoming election year, as we all know. And we will have new personnel in the office this year, which multimedia will have to be changed anyways. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Teresa. Elaine.
Elaine Lawson, Heiser, 410 Amina Road. I would like to say that the extension of the election was misrepresented to us. We were told that it would be cheaper if we went with this type of election by extending your time, and it represents taxation without representation, because by extending your terms, you have elected to make our taxes whatever they will be in the term that you've extended. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Okay, I've got a proclamation that I've missed here, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. Proclamation, Black Mountain Beautification Committee Day, March 22nd, 2020. Whereas the Black Mountain Beautification Committee has established 20 years ago by the Economic Development Committee of Black Mountain Chamber of Commerce. Whereas the committee took on as its mission statement, the people of Black Mountain possess a cherished tradition of honoring the natural beauty of the surrounding mountains, all the while seeking to reflect the beauty of the streets and in the lives of its citizens. Whereas this non-profit organization focuses on maintaining and nurturing town gardens, green areas, and establishing more natural gardens in the designated open spaces. And whereas in 2005, the committee established a Black Mountain Garden Show and Sale, thus bringing in hundreds of guests from all over parts of the South to experience the spirit of Black Mountain. And whereas 2013, the committee worked extensively with the Town Square Committee to create this park as a focal point of the Black Mountain. And whereas in 2016, the committee worked to bring about a consistent look in the planters and benches in the historic section of the town of Black Mountain. Whereas the town of Black Mountain and the Black Mountain Beautification Committee have worked hand in hand these 20 years with mutual support and respect to provide a hospitable, welcoming, and scenic mountain community for the benefits of the citizens and visitors alike. Now, I, therefore, Don Collins, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, here do proclaim Sunday, March 22nd, in the town of Black Mountain as the Black Mountain Beautification Committee Day. All right. Communications from staff, boards, and commissions. Jamie.
Evening, Mayor and Board. This is Public Works 2019 annual report for water. And I'd just like to say before we get started that our goal every year is to try to increase capacity on our water and make our system better. And I think some of the improvements that's listed in here will show that we've done that. First off, we replaced well pumps 7, 19, and 20 in 2019, but in the past 3 years, this board has budgeted to let me replace 7 wells. And what that's done by replacing 7 wells, it's increased the capacity because these well pumps, as years go by, they get inefficient. They don't pump as many gallons of water per minute or per year or ever how you want to figure it. So later on in this report, I'll try to show what I think this has done to give you a better idea how this has helped. We refurbished well 1, which is in the watershed, and we replaced the whole inside of this well pump with brass parts. It was PVC. Because it's on chlorine gas, it gets brittle and it breaks real easy. So we've started now to looking into these well houses to replace them with more modern parts, which will last a whole lot longer and be a lot more maintenance friendly. We refurbished Timber Park pump station. A little bit about this, Timber Park back last year kept calling and they were out of water, their tank was out of water. We got to looking into it a little further and they were on old pressure switches and delayed timers, which we was having to come in and work these things manually to keep them in water on the system until we could get the money budgeted to replace this. So in 2019, also these were not even booster pumps in this pump house. It was well pumps encased in 6-inch ductile iron pipe that were laying parallel, which should have been vertical. So we took every bit of it out and replaced it with vertical pumps that are booster pumps, and we also replaced all the light and all the heaters. We've basically done a complete overhaul of that system, and it's totally automated and on SCADA now to include their tank. So it is part of the system. It's caught up to date with us and state, so that it will be inspected by the state this year, and hopefully we'll get a good report on that. We installed pumps at Chapel Road, Pinnacle Pump Stations, and if you think back a few years ago, we just replaced diesel pumps, but the lifespan of these pumps is about 10,000 hours. They run 8 hours a day, so you usually get about 3 to 4 years out of these pumps. But what we've never done before, because these pumps are custom-built pumps, they're not, if they go bad, you just can't order one off the shelf and it'll be here tomorrow. It could take months to get. So in our capital, we've budgeted, and we started a few years ago to get these pumps in-house because they're very expensive. But by having them in-house, if one goes down, we can install this thing and never lose or never have a minute struggle with our system as far as losing water. So that's something that we've started, started getting these pumps in-house to have on shelves as a backup. Our generators that we budgeted for a few years ago was up and online completely in 2019 and have been working flawlessly to this point. They start automatically and run themselves. We can set how often we want them to do that, but if we lose power at any of these stations, these will kick on and we will not lose the pump stations that they're designed to be on. We installed an air relief valve on Lookout Terrace, which in a water system, if you got air in that system, it'd go to the highest point to try to get out of the system, and they were having air up there. So we installed that. That's worked real good. And we budgeted $50,000 to have valves installed was never no valves to kill that area, so we had leaks, it was high pressure and it was very dangerous. And so them are cut in now, we can actually kill different sections of Montreat Road if we have leaks in that area. We eliminated a 2-inch line under Black Mountain Avenue Bridge, which might cost us to lose water in the town and have water trucked in by tractor and trailer and on the phone with emergency management. Thank God that didn't happen. But this year we deleted that line. That line is no longer under the bridge. We run it bored under the road, got it out from under the bridge, so if we ever flood again, we never have to worry about that particular line blowing out and having that incident again. We took over 6-inch water line and taps on Blue Ridge Road. We made an interconnection at White Pine Drive. And I'm happy to report that we only had 5 leaks since then, and it's not been main distribution leaks. It's just been private lines and things of that nature, or service lines. So it's been nothing out of the ordinary. So that's been good because we changed pressures over there. And then we installed a 6-inch ductile iron line for the sprinkler system at 304 Black Mountain Avenue. That went very well. We done all the electrical work in-house, so we didn't have to contract that out. Everything passed inspection. And we sat down and created a maintenance plan for the Settings water system with the HOA to do some work on their system, seeing how we took over those lines and stuff now. So we worked with the HOA several meetings over last year and got the bugs worked out of that, and it seems to be working really good. Total work orders for since 2017, you can see I try to post these every 3 years, and they stay pretty consistent across the board. So it don't really change much. It's just little factors such as weather and things of that nature that changes that. If you look, in 2019 we done 3,150 work orders in water. This is a pie chart of how it's broke down, and then you see that there's 1,652 of them line located. So that tells you that there's a lot going on in Black Mountain. For other utilities such as power, gas, fiber optic, anything utility that's underground, they have to call us to locate water lines. So that keeps one man busy. That's a full-time job by itself. The miscellaneous stuff that you see, that could be like moving meters, cutting actual valves off and on, things of that nature. Cut-offs, cut-on, that's pretty regular stuff. We only had 54 leaks in 2019. That's really good. By the way, I've seen that number really high, so I'm pretty pleased with that number for an annual number. So asphalt pumped. We pumped right at 183 million gallons of water in 2019 into our system. 47.5 million gallons was pumped from asphalt. If you'll see, that number's lower than the years before. I'm thinking that that's because of the efficiency of the wells that we're putting into the system. So we're gaining water, and hopefully in our next report, when we get them done, I will be able to tell you how much water that is actually gained, because my plan is to individually meter those wells to show exactly how much each one of those is pumping. Because when we replace them, we do a drawdown to show exactly how much they'll yield to their maximum, and that's the pump design that we're putting in it. So I know we're gaining in efficiency on water, but I will say this. I learned a valuable lesson this Christmas when everybody was out for the holidays and in town visiting. We had another major leak that drained our tank down again, but we were able to stop it and caught the leak. But what we found out was even running Asheville's pump that we have now, we could not gain water back in our system. And that was us running full capacity and everything we could get from them. It would not gain. The minute people went back to work, the holidays was over, the tank started rising. So that told me that we are at our capacity. And I see that twice a year. A lot of times when, say winter's over, we have a bad winter, and people are flooding all the car washes and they're lined up, you'll see that tank drop, and it's hard to get that water to people back. So, with that being said, the new pump station that we have online, when we take over between 300 and 400 customers from Asheville, we should be firing this pump station up by the end of this month or the 1st of April, according to the engineers. Right now, we're waiting on a contractor to finish up some loose ends he's got. Once that is online, the way these pumps have been figured in configuration, unless there's a famine, we should never have to worry about that water situation again. So the moral of that story is that pump station's coming online at a very good time for Black that's good news. But that's about it. I tried to hit the highlights of what we done in 2019. There was a whole lot more that's went on, but I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but there's some good things going on in the water department. And I just want to say, sort of highlight on what Don said about the training. I've got some really good employees that's, they've really wiped my budget out in training this year, and that's the first time I've ever seen that, and I'm very proud of that because they're willing to learn, and it's a money saver for us, and anything we can do in-house. But I will say, I had one guy this year that, he sprained his ankle. Instead of staying out of work like he could, he called and asked if there's anything he could do to help out. So he come in, he got on North Carolina League of Municipality, and when he finished up his week, he had 40-some certifications. And that blew my mind. I've never seen that. So I just want to mention them. His name's Cody Woodard, and I think it ought to be recognized that, anytime that happens. So we're a team, and we're always looking for ways to get better. But that's all I have. If you got any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, Josh. Consent agenda.
The consent agenda 5A is adoption of minutes. So this would be to adopt the minutes of February 6th, 2020 agenda session, February 10th, 2020 regular session, and February 10th, 2020 closed session. 5B is a budget amendment for attorney fees. So this is to amend our budget and increase the amount of $25,000. This is due to some increased cost and the Mr. Sneed as well as Robertson Stevens, who we do use for HR questions and services. So that has an increase of $25,000 for that budget amendment. And 5A and B, that is your consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent items A and B is approved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved 4-0. All right. Citizen comments on any unfinished business. Seeing none, we'll go on to unfinished business.
I'm going to switch seats here.
Okay, buddy.
All right, so we've been talking about this now for at least, I guess this is probably the third or fourth meeting maybe that we've had this conversation. I think staff has done a good job to get these numbers refined as much as we think possible. If you'll recall, we did send out an RFP for our sanitation contract that's currently up September 30th, 2020. We did receive one interested party back for that RFP. That was our current service provider, which is Waste Pro. And what I wanted to do, I guess again, just to kind of remind you, is what those numbers came in and what the alternative is to potentially using in-house services. So I'll try to make this easy to follow along, but if you'll follow the cross on the screen, the figure here, $1,073,650, is to keep the same services we currently have with Waste Pro. This is the new cost. Our current services with Waste Pro, we are anticipating those ending at around $796,200. With that being said, currently we pay about $16.26 per household for sanitation pickup or sanitation services. That would include recycling, brush pickup, bulky item pickup. The new contract would go to $21.93 based on that original submission that they turned in. I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Chip Jingles with Waste Pro. Since that submission, he was able to get the price down a little bit. So that new price would be $963,000 even, which comes out to be $19.67 per household for a cost for the same services. Now let me jump back to this line where I've got my cross. doing some research with other municipalities, staff, did visit a number of municipalities in the county as well as Marion. We have put together a budget, and I know that's really not what we're here to talk about is the budget, but we needed to put together a budget so we could see what the costs would be. We've anticipated that cost coming in at, for a first year service, of $12.58 per household for the same services that we are currently being provided. This would include no debt payments for vehicles, for trucks. This would just be what it would cost to operate that department. Salaries, gas, tipping fees, those sorts of things. I'm going to switch over here to this much more confusing sheet. And everything I have highlighted in yellow here, we would be starting, this is year one, fiscal year 21, that we would start our services. For each fiscal year, if we did it in-house, this is what the cost would look like and how they would increase every year. $12.58 to $13.62. I don't need to read those out to you, but as you can see, of course, they do increase. All those numbers, even up to year 10, are currently less expensive than the contract or the RFP response from Waste Pro.
So, you have maintenance for the trucks,
Yes.
but no cost for the trucks.
Here in 75,000, in this line here, I have a capital reserve line, and of course this could fluctuate, but I have us putting back that money for the cost of new trucks in the future.
Okay.
The cost for the initial payment of those trucks, I have figured us using fund balance, which has increased substantially from the sale of that property on US 70. So I don't have any debt in this scenario.
And the 75 a year, and I'm wondering if you equated it, if you decided for some reason, and I think there's some good reason to think of it like this, if you were funding debt, is that about what you'd fund if you're going to pay it off in 5 years? Something, is it close enough?
It's probably close to that.
Fairly close.
Yeah, because the number of trucks has gone down, so it's probably pretty close, yeah.
Because I think that's what you want to,
Right.
that's what you want to equate, that's the number you want to use, I think.
So I think that, that number, and I mean, all these numbers are, I think can fluctuate a little.
Well, sure.
As we get into it. And I will say, this has 5 employees in this presentation. It has, in the first year, 5 employees. It has 1 pickup truck with a hopper in the back for backdoor service or hard to reach areas. It has 2 rear loaders, 25-yard rear loaders, and it has I think it's a 26-yard knuckle boom truck for brush pickup. I'll say staff has worked on this quite a bit. I'll say this is, I think, very lean. There may be a point in time that I come back to you and say, we're struggling to do this. We may need to do something different. I think particularly my concern and staff's concern with the 2 trucks we're buying, I think those are good, at least the first year. The issue that we may run into is, and I know I said this last time, something were to happen, if we need to do maintenance on one, and we've got a schedule that I'll provide you too on how we're going to run this. But if one truck is out of service, then we've got issues, because we're using one for garbage, one for recycling. I did talk to Waste Pro about the potential for extending our contract on a month-to-month basis if we were not able to get trucks in on time. They are okay with doing that. I don't know what that looks like right now, but we will work towards that. They also said there is the potential for them to be on an emergency service contract, but I don't know what that price looks like in case we were to need someone to provide that service should we be down a truck. I will say there are options out there where we could purchase used trucks. If we needed a backup, that is also another option we could look at. But those new trucks, those 25-yard rear loaders, are about $160,000, $70,000 a piece, is what we're looking at right now for those. And if you've got, I'm sure you probably have some questions. I'm going to bring up Jamie and Tasha to hopefully help me answer some questions if you do have some. I'm going to pass this around to you. This is the schedule that we're thinking about using for this right now. We went through a couple of iterations of the schedule. We think this one is a really good schedule based on the number of trucks and the number of folks that we're gonna be asking the board for. So let me just kind of go, I don't want to get bogged down too much in this if y'all don't want to, but what this is showing is we're essentially providing the same, kind of the same schedule we do now. We're doing garbage 4 days a week. We're doing recycling every other week. If you'll look on the, let's say week A, for example, you'll see the days the recycling truck is not running, that truck would be picking up brush or bulky item. I had Tasha print out a schedule of brush pickups. Last year, there was 1 month we had 900 brush pickups in 1 month. And that is a lot of brush to pick up. And there's just no way to get that done 1 day a week with 900 stops in a month. And that's 250 stops a week almost. It's just not feasible.
Well,
to
I
get
think you
that done.
guys have already proven to us that the brush pickups are being abused in this town a lot. And we're going to, between now and the July 1st budgets, when it starts, we're going to have to reduce the amount of brush pickups that we're doing, and we're going to have to verify that brush came off of that property. And and we've got folks that have cut down trees and expect the town then to come, they hire somebody, a contract to come take the trees down, then we're responsible for the brush. And it's just not feasible for the taxpayers to have to do that every time that's done. These guys that are going out and they're taking down trees, they've also better equipped than what we are with chippers and everything else about moving something like that. Our picking up brush should be for trimmings and maybe a small tree that's fallen down, those type things. Not a we shouldn't be contracted labor to take down trees.
And I want to say that this is going to be there's going to be growing pains with this if we end up bringing it in house. I mean that's just the way it's going to be. I think I think we can handle it. I don't have any concerns about that at all. But it is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for us.
Back on your numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have an offer from Waste Pro that takes, and that's for what's the duration? Is that for 1 year, the $19.67? Yes. So, am I comparing apples to apples if I compare the 19 to the 12? No, I can't remember what I'm looking at.
Yes.
And that includes the cost of your equipment. That includes the cost of your trucks.
That's correct.
1258 does. Well, I'm comparing it to the reduced number.
Correct.
Well, the first number was 21, but the spread's too much for us to get around, even at 19. It's just I don't see where we have a choice. I mean, does anybody else feel differently? What are your options? It's just the spread's too much. I would think though that it might be on a budgeting side and what you have to plan for, that in particular for this first year, that you don't want to be so tight in the budget that you get handcuffed, because even creating even putting in another, what's the number if you put in the other truck so that you have a backup? You're still, and you may know this without checking, but you're still, what does another truck add? How does it narrow the gap between, I'll stay away from the 19, but how does it narrow the gap between 21 and 12? In one truck, does it take it to 14, to 15 or something? I I mean, it's fine, I mean, you don't know that off the top of your head.
$16.14.
Yeah, and so,
If you paid for that up front.
that's the 16,
If you
14.
pay for it up front. If you finance it, of course, it'd be cheaper.
No, I'm not about financing
Yeah,
and,
if you pay for it up front, it would be.
oh, you paid for the extra truck I'm talking
Correct.
about, gotcha. So, and I would use the financing number, because even if you don't finance, you want to look at it that
Sure.
way. It's using capital and you have to pay for it, I think Dean would agree with that.
Yeah, the rate
So-
was pretty good. I think it was 2.5% or less for a 7-year term, so
Yeah,
whatever that
Yeah.
174 borrow would be, I would think that would be relatively
Yeah.
inexpensive.
and I think you just want to, that's kind of what you want to think, because you have to, we're using our capital, so you have to kind of pay for it as well. But the spread, even if you, as generous as you want to get with what you're buying and what you want to provide and so forth, I don't, I'd like to, I'd like to come up with an alternative, because I think it concerns me that we're overburdening an already pretty busy group, but at the same time, we're talking about hiring five new employees.
Yeah.
And they'll actually be shouldering it. It's just a supervisory thing. So anyway, I'd say I'm in favor of it myself, and throw it out to the rest of the board. I know we need to vote on it, but I don't really see a realistic alternative. And then to remind the public too that we're the only municipality in the county that does not manage their own. And to be fair to Waste Pro, because I know we have a representative from Waste Pro, and they've been very gracious to us and worked with us and gave us a reduction for a year. I mean, they realistically have to build a profit into what they're doing, and it's a big company, and they've got their cost that they need to cover and so forth, and so it's just a different. We frankly should be able to do it cheaper. I mean, it's just is what's borne out by the other municipalities in the county doing it that way. So that's my 2 cents worth. I think I don't really see where we have a choice in terms of being good stewards and fair to the taxpayers. Yeah. It's just too big a spread.
Well, we definitely can say the profit that they can make, we can save the Black Mountain taxpayers. And I think you're starting out with a little lean. I'd rather see that than I had way too fat. Because this board is always, if we get ourselves into a situation that looks like we're going to have something else, then we can go at that point. But it's hard for me to think that when you get 4 new, is it 4 or 5? It's
Talking about vehicles?
4 new vehicles
Yes.
that we're going to have one wore out in the first couple of years.
No, I don't think we'll have one more out at all. I mean, I just, you have to provide, of course, you have to do maintenance on them, whenever that is. And the hope is that it's not down for longer than a day or 2.
Well, according to what your numbers are, after 4 years, we're going to have the money to buy a new one if we need to.
Yeah, that's correct.
Of course, we do want to try to get something contractually in place with Waste Pro for backup and emergencies, because they may not wear out, but you could have an accident.
Yeah.
You could lose a truck. So we do. We do need to pursue that aggressively as far as getting backup lined up.
So yeah, staff will work on that. Been bringing that back to the board to see what that looks like.
So, would a motion be that the town board charges you, the town manager, to pursue solid waste pickup in-house, or do we need to, Ron? Do we need to address the upcoming contract with Waste Pro?
I think you got a proposal on the table, and if the board is comfortable with what direction it's going to take, Waste Pro might want to know that bid is in fact rejected.
Okay, so I would make a motion that we reject the bid provided for us by Waste Pro for solid waste pickup.
All right.
I'm commencing October 1, I believe, of 2020.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay. Josh and Mr. Sneed.
Next item is your North Carolina Highway 9 sidewalk construction contract proposal. This is phase 2 that runs from out Dogwood to just past where you turn into the medical center off of Jane Jacobs Road. That property crosses Sykes Reagan or CS Reagan LLC property. We've been discussing that with him for a while. As the board knows, he would like to have brick. The difference between brick and a concrete sidewalk is about $65,000. Over the last few months, we tried to work out some way of moving forward with that. In the last meeting, I was given one last opportunity to go to Reagan and say, if you want brick, the only thing we really put on the table is you pay all the difference between a concrete sidewalk and brick. He wasn't willing to go that far at this point. They'd like to continue this discussion down the road, but they're aware of the fact that you need to know something now, and they aren't willing to go where we need to go to take the bid that's on the table. That puts you, I think, the board's thought was, put you in the position of rejecting the present bid, because without the easements, we can't operate with it anyway, and move on to phase 3.
Okay. Any questions? All right. I need a motion to award the contract or turn it down.
I'd move to reject the contract and instruct the town manager to move forward with bidding phase 3.
Have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, organizational meeting. We have an appointment of Alderman for the town of Black Mountain to fill Carlos Shower's unexpired term ending 2020. I need a motion to appoint someone as Alderman on behalf of the town of Black Mountain Board of Aldermen.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to appoint, and make a motion to do so, Cheryl Milton to fill the vacant spot created by Alderman Shower's passing. I think everyone is aware of Cheryl's work record with the town, which is extensive. She has served. I think the question, and there's no reason not to be honest and straightforward about it, the question that has been presented and that is on the minds of a lot of people is the fact that that very often Cheryl has in meetings, in public meetings, there's been some contentious behavior. Now, that's not something that hasn't happened at the Board of Aldermen as well, but it's something that obviously a lot of members of the public have expressed their concerns about. And I'll be honest, and I don't think Cheryl minds me saying this in public, I had concerns about it and spoke to her about it on 2 different occasions, and just what that would look like if she if the board did agree to and voted her in to fill Alderman Shower's vacant spot, or this vacant spot on the board. And you have to remember, until the fall election, because that's just for a few months. And in my thinking, it's my assessment that Cheryl has a great deal of potential to serve the town well, and if she can show the town and the community, the Board of Aldermen, that she can serve in a manner that is consistent with the way we hope to be able to present ourselves in our public meetings, I think it'll serve her well, serve the town well, and we can move forward as we come down in the coming months. And so I want to be clear that I know Cheryl and I, our discussions, we were very open about it, and she thinks that she would very much like to move forward and make a good record for herself as a member of the town board. And so to that end, I want to support her for the seat.
And that is in the form of a motion.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Cheryl Milton.
And I'm also welcoming, I don't want to rush things, any other discussion, but I wanted to get, and I appreciate the board allowing me to do that, to get a motion on the table. And I think Cheryl deserved it. She was very upfront, as so many were. I would also say thanks to everyone who submitted the notice of interest. It was a great group, and I'm also very pleased to hear that a lot of folks are planning on running in the fall. That's great, and we welcome that, and we need that participation in the process. So thank you to all who showed interest.
Larry, I'd like to comment also. I certainly understand and agree with much of what you say, and I've wrestled with this quite a bit, and am pleased to see the people that have entered the letter of interest or an application of interest for this position. I'm very encouraged by what I see, and I have to say that there is someone that I would prefer to nominate, so I'm gonna withhold my, well, not withhold my vote, but feel like I've got someone else that I would like to nominate.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion to appoint Cheryl Milton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
That's 1-3. Okay. Have any other nominations?
Yes,
I would like to nominate someone who has been involved and shown quite an interest in becoming part of the town operation, and that's Jennifer Willett, who, and I encouraged her several years ago to get, she told me she was interested, and I said, well, that's when Angela had the Citizens Academy, and I said, well, go to that and see what you think. And she's still very much interested and is part of the planning board now, so I would like to nominate Jennifer Willett.
Any discussion? A motion for Jennifer Willett for the appointment of the Alderman seat. All in favor?
aye.
It was, Tim was aye, I was aye.
Then that's a 3-1. Thanks, Jennifer Willett. She will be our new alderman to fill Carlos Shower's seat. Is she here?
You do not see her in the audience, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
Can you call the vote? I didn't hear the
it's 3-0. I mean 3-1.
Who was opposed?
I am.
Okay, with that being said, if someone will, Angela, if you'll get in touch with her tomorrow, have her come in and you can swear her in and she'll be present for the next board meeting.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have been given the unenviable task of trying to replace Carlos Showers for the remainder of his term, and there's really no good way to do this under the current system. Leaving it up to the board is definitely not an ideal way to do it. We have many qualified candidates, many of whom are my neighbors and friends. I've known a lot of them for several years, and so this was kind of a nightmare for me. I had a lot of conflicting opinions about a lot of different candidates. I myself was appointed before we had the application process, and having taught civics for 25 years, I felt it was my duty to step up and answer the call when I was asked. There's some people that have said that, I probably wasn't qualified, and I probably wasn't. But I just felt like it was something that I needed to do because I'd told my students all those years to step up and if you were asked to do something and serve your community. So I would have been a real hypocrite had I not done that. Personally, I think in the future that maybe we should lay the groundwork to have some kind of special election if this situation ever came up again. And maybe, with the application process, and I realize that it's a question of of money and time, and there's all those things to consider. But I really believe that, you know, people have talked about it being a fair system, and I think that may be the only fair way to really do that. So I would just ask that the board, maybe we take that under consideration, and if it ever happens again, have something in place.
Mr. Raines, I'll tell you that the process you follow, whether you solicit people to put their names to the hat or not, is dictated by statute. In order to change it to a special election to fill an empty seat, that would take a local act of the legislature.
Thank you.
Jim, I want to thank you for your comments. I think, you know, if it wasn't up to the current way that it is, where it takes an act of the legislature, I completely agree with you. I don't think that it's fair or right. This board have to pick this. I think citizens should pick that. That's the foundation of our republic, and I've struggled with it too. My votes tonight are not an indication of any thoughts. I have great respect personally for Cheryl and for Jennifer. They were just not my preferred candidate out of those that applied. I do hope that everyone that did apply will continue to be involved and will continue to pursue this as we move into the fall, and will bring the new ideas and skills to this board.
I'd like to make a comment. The system that we're using right now is something that we were handed. There are 3 people that are on this board, including the one who we just replaced, was originally appointed to this board through resignations, death, and that's just, I don't think there's another board in this county that has had the turnover that we've had for whatever reason. But I defy anybody to tell me that we haven't made good choices. From Ryan to Larry to Tim, and I'm going to stand up for these folks because they've been leaders on this board. They were leaders in the community before it, and I appreciate every one of them. And a lot of them have gone on to win their elections. In fact, all of them but Tim, and good Lord willing, he's going to run and prove that point this November. All right, going on to Black Mountain Chamber of Commerce Executive Board. With Carlos's passing, we have a open seat there that we need to appoint someone to serve as a member of the Black Mountain Illinois Chamber of Commerce Executive Board.
I believe that Town Manager Josh Harrold agreed to serve and take that role, and I would make a motion to nominate him to represent the town on the Chamber Board.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Asheville Regional Housing Consortium. There is one alternate to be filled for that, and I need a motion to appoint someone to serve as the alternate member.
Yeah, I would like to appoint Ron Stone, please.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Okay. Friends of the Fontaflora Trail Executive Board. We need to appoint someone to that.
I would like to appoint Larry Harris to that board since he's familiar with some of the processes already. I think they'd be a good thing.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. New business, compliance with NCGS Chapter 160D. Mr. Sneed.
This is one that's been lurking out there for several years until past last fall, but there's been an attempt to update the statutes that regulate how we do zoning and development regulations. 160D is a chapter that pulls from 160A in various parts, subdivisions, zoning, building, all those things into a single chapter. it started out with some attempt by the committee that worked on it to maybe update it a bit, but by the time they got done, it didn't really change a lot of substantive things. There's too much pushback. Common law, vested rights, they tried to turn into statutory, and they're still common law, that kind of thing. There are some procedural improvements. As a simple example is the one where you adopt a zoning ordinance now or a map amendment. You first have to pass find that it's compliant with your comprehensive plan, and then pass your ordinance. Beginning next January, that can all be in the ordinance, simplified. I don't have time to go over everything. It's going to be a fairly large amount of work to update our ordinances. So I think I told the board at the agenda meeting, it sort of starts, I mean, it wasn't the intent, but it's going to have the effect of pointing the town toward having a unified development ordinance at one point, because it pulls all those development regulations under one chapter. There are a couple of things the board needs to be aware of that are in effect right now in that session law that adopted 160D, and which will be incorporated into the new 160D once it's fully in effect. But one has to do with vested rights. That was not such a big deal as much as choice of laws. The law right now, except for a few minor exceptions, that if I come in and put in an application for a permit to do X, and the law changes on me before my permit's issued, then I'm back to square one. My permit application's got to fit the new law. There is some minor exceptions, but written a few years ago at the behest of John Jordan and one of his buddies, but it didn't help John much because the exception was that didn't apply to zoning regulations. But now any development regulation, and this is fairly broad, if I come in today and pull a building permit, or put my application in for a building permit, and zoning regulations change, or subdivision regulations change, or stormwater regulations change, I have the choice of choosing the law on the day I put in my application for my building permit, or the new law, whichever one works best for me in my mind. So it's a pretty broad reach you get with that application process, and that snapshot in time is the day you submit your application. That's in effect right now. There's another piece of that. Some of you folks will know these names, but on this committee that put this together was Craig Justice and Robin Curran, amongst others. And those are diametrically opposed people as to what they think regulation should do. What you got was the law on some zoning issues up until last July was that if the town made an error in making a decision and was kind of gross about it, I could ask for and possibly get legal fees. That's no longer the case. All you got to be now is wrong, and the other side can get legal fees. What that does is it's going to make planning and zoning staff a little touchy about making a decision against a citizen, and I think that may have been the intent. But that part about it just being absolutely liable, I think that's one that Craig got in while Robin wasn't watching. But that's what you got to deal with right now. But 160D, starting next January, will cover the broad scope of development ordinances, most of it procedural, some modest amount of substantive. There won't be a lot of law changes, but procedural things will change a good bit. I accused Angela of trying to scare you because there's a checklist of things that need to happen before next January 1st. It's 13 pages long. Mm-hmm. And if there's any good news to it, that comes in 3 parts. Things you should do, things you ought to do, and some things you might just want to do. But my inclination at the moment, if we're looking, and Jessica's expressed an interest down the road of going to UDO if the board likes that idea, is probably minimize what we do what we have to, do the things that will be beneficial, and not try to totally rewrite our land development standards right now when we know we'll probably come back around and do a more comprehensive job of it. What's awkward is obviously your ordinances have to follow your comprehensive plan in some fashion, and you're working on a comprehensive plan right now. And so it would have been nice if the comprehensive plan were last year and 160D were next year. So that makes another reason not to overdo amending 160D when you're in the process of doing a new comprehensive plan.
I'm trying to get a handle, which I'm not going to, I get that, tonight, on the comprehensive plan and how we might be able to take that opportunity to, to kind of get a handle on what we want to do more immediately.
I think that's it. If the comprehensive plan takes some new direction from our old comprehensive plans, that would tell you more about what you might want to address.
Correct.
Do you think, is that a discussion we've had with the folks who are helping us?
It's very much on our radar, yes.
Yeah. Well, good.
If you've got the time, you can go to this, School of Government has a site for 160D. You just go in and hit their search 160D, it'll take you to a page. What I found to be very helpful is there's a series of little modules you can watch. They're videos, they're 5 to 10 minutes a piece on different things. Adam Lovelady does it. And it's pretty, although you wonder why you're sitting there for 2 hours, in reality, it's a pretty quick primer on 160D. It can be very helpful.
So I guess the only thing we need to do is just have consensus to send this on then to the planning board.
Well, no, staff, and staff will do the first draft, then it will go to planning board. It's a little bit much to dump on the planning board without something in place.
Okay. All right, Ron, thanks for the update. All right, Josh.
So this item is a resolution to provide matching funds for the 9th Street Bridge replacement. This is the pot of money that we typically use for our greenway, that we have been using for our greenway. This is surface transportation block grant money that changes acronyms about every 6 months, but that's what it currently is. The cost we have, we got a quote on the replacement for 9th Street Bridge, which is $467,000. Every 2 years we have to have our bridges in town inspected, and NCDOT hires different engineering firms to do that for them every couple of years. So we had our inspection, if I'm not mistaken, I think last year, and this was the lowest scored bridge in the town and was in need of replacement sooner than any other bridge. The funding for the surface transportation block grant money is a 20% match, which is currently what we're enjoying with the Greenway money. So the cost to the town would be $91,400 at a future, in a future budget. This would be something that would be budgeted for probably in the next couple of years. I don't foresee this happening in the upcoming budget. I will say, after our agenda meeting, I did talk to Tristan Winkler with MPO, and I think we were partially right, but partially wrong. This does not go to SPOT, so it does not get scored through SPOT. And that's another acronym, but it does go into the State Transportation Improvement Plan. So the process is we adopt the resolution, staff puts together the application, then it goes to the MPO staff, they score it, then the prioritization subcommittee makes recommendations, and then it goes to the MPO board for approval and to go into the STIP. So
You hope it would score. It's a bridge. It's a bridge. It's in bad
let's
shape.
hope so.
One would hope it scores. Motion to approve R20-03.
All in favor? 4-0. Okay, we have no public hearings, communications from the staff. Mr. Sneed?
I do have something new this month. I've waited for months for this. But the Hemphill property that Mary left to be a park if somebody would operate it, we went through some complications, and then Mary Hemphill left it to the Appalachian Regional Conservancy, who does not operate parks. And to be operated as a park, complication there, they don't want even a whole title. We've gone, and there's some residual beneficiaries that I think I've explained before, would benefit if it does not become a park, it reverts back to the estate, the property is sold. We finally have all of those residual beneficiaries have signed off saying that property being conveyed to the town for a park is fine with them. They're not going to assert that the estate should have done anything differently. And most of that was for the benefit of the conservancy, because they would be in the middle. This property will be conveyed directly to the town. We finally have those in. We're working right now. Possibly within 30 days, we may have deeds in place and done, and it will be the town property. That pool of funds was brought in by the sale of the two little houses, that's still there, approaching $200,000. I will tell you that in the time we've been working it out, they've been using that pool of funds to keep the insurance and taxes on it paid. So it's been diluted a small amount. There's a target date of early May to be done, because that's when the fire insurance runs out on the house up there, and the state wants to be done with it and not have to renew insurance.
Yeah. Well, we all know that'll be a great addition to the town, and Josh is working on several things with the county, and we don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial for this community, and the Hemp-Hills were community-minded, and I thank them for it. I know this whole town does. All right. Josh?
So yeah, I just really got one thing. As I mentioned at the agenda meeting, we are staff is currently meeting with staff at Buncombe County Public Health Emergency Management about our coronavirus outbreaks across the country. COVID-19, I guess, is what they're calling it. But I wanted to let the board know and the public know that we are having those weekly meetings. I would say we will more than likely put something on our website, probably a link to Buncombe County's website. They're in the process of establishing a joint information center so folks can go to one location and try to get the information, so we're not getting differing information in all these other locations. But hopefully that'll be available in the next week or so on our website.
Okay. Communication to the board.
May I jump right back in for a moment, Mr. Mayor? I know we've had a discussion on this several months ago about the company we've hired to deal with cybersecurity. And probably a reminder needs to go back across the board to the staff and everybody. Be wary of clickbait and things. The city of Durham is shut down from a malware attack. Even the town's Wi-Fi, everything is down. They're hurt. So it's important that people at least do what they can and not fall for clickbait. Don't go to sites that they have any question about, or any links that they see as their work.
Thank you, Ron. Good advice.
If I could jump back in one more time.
Yes, sir.
So our boards and commissions that we have in town, those applications are due April 24th by 5 o'clock. So it's on the website. Folks are interested, apply by the 24th.
Folks who are interested in serving this town, maybe not as Board of Aldermen, but you get a lot of good looks if you're willing to serve and work with this town on other boards and commissions instead of wanting to jump right straight to the top. So that's my advice to you. And with that, the Board of Aldermen have any comments?
I have a couple of things, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And Angela, I'd ask that these be put in the minutes of the meeting. This is a communication from David Fann, F-A-N-N, David Fann, who's the president and director of Avadum Health, Inc. And as you know, Avadum was awarded a economic incentive package from the county and the state, and of course that's our water and sewer project that we've been working on that came from funds from EDA and the Golden Leaf in the tune of $1.6 million to build a new pump station that's about ready to come online. And so there have been, anyone might have questions about the progress of their building, which was really put on hold while they were doing an initial public offering of their stock called an IPO. And that process is a very sensitive one from a timing process and also from a communication process. And I'll just read this. As most of you are aware, our IPO has been delayed However, our public registration is still active and the IPO process is fluid and ongoing. Unfortunately, this also means that we are in a quiet period, which is part of the IPO process. But we will update everyone as soon as we can. We continue to focus on building shareholder value for all of us, but that simply tells us what we've known and was announced, that it still should be sometime this year that they start the building one way or the other, I think regardless of the IPO, but that's their business, not the town's. But I think I did want to get this in the minutes, just this latest communication from them. And then secondly, from Mike Clark, Division Project Engineer with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Currently, we have been notified that we can move forward with the design of I-4409 Blue Ridge Road project. However, right-of-way acquisition will be delayed until early 2021. Construction is still scheduled, as it has been for some time, for 2023. Locally, we will push to meet this milestone as we are aware of the importance of this project to the town of Black Mountain. Regarding the delay, I know the town board is getting many questions from constituents. Please do not hesitate to forward calls to me, and I will do my best to explain the current situation. And that is that state funding for about any transportation project has slowed down tremendously just because of the cost of construction, and it's just what it is right now at the state level. And so Mike also goes on to say that their website revisions will be complete in the coming days and will also help to answer any questions. So right away 2021, but design, they have been given the go-ahead to move forward with final design. You've seen some designs at the public meetings, but these will be the final design of the project. So both of those in the minutes, if you would, Angela. Thank you.
Anyone else? I just want to say something to Cheryl. We appreciate your willingness to serve on this board. We appreciate your service in the past to this town. And the board you serve on is quasi-judicial, and it's tough.
And you know, somehow I maintain my dignity and calmness on that, and done a good job. So thank you all, you and Larry especially, for supporting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into a closed session to discuss personnel matters as permitted in NCGS 143-318.11A6.
So moved.
All in favor?